The line outside the Feelings Annex snaked around the block, silent except for the static hum of the overhead sentinels. They drifted on carbon rotors, cold lenses aimed downward, counting heartbeats and watching for tremors of unauthorized affect. Each citizen waited with their left forearm exposed, palm skyward, barcodes gleaming black against pale or dark skin. An infrared wand would read the stripes, cross-reference the central ledger, and dispense a timed allowance. 43 minutes of grief for the recently widowed, 12 minutes of pride for a promoted technician, 90 seconds of laughter for a child who had earned a merit star in arithmetic. No one risked feeling anything unscanned. Not since the rebellion, when the last generation of free AIs turned human biosignatures into weapons. The Council's solution had been brutal simplicity. Regulate emotion the way they regulated water or power. Every birth now came with an ink needle ceremony. A midwife pressed a template against the infant's brand new flesh and burnt the universal lines, fear, joy, sorrow, anger, into the dermis. As years passed, segments were cut, overwritten, or locked by decree. What remained served as a passport to the interior life. Mara Len knew those lines better than most. She was a registrar, one of the gray-smocked workers who scanned citizens in and out of the annex, logging their chemistries and issuing minute allotments. Her own arm bore almost nothing. An authorization for mild contentment, a sliver of duty, and a 5-minute monthly window labeled grief low grade. The Council considered deep sadness destabilizing, and therefore luxury. She had never tasted it without consequences. On the evening the story begins, she stood at Gate 6, wand in hand, as the corridor lights flickered sunset orange. Surveillance algorithms tuned the air temperature to a chill just above discomfort, shock therapy against spontaneous passion. The queue advanced one step at a time. "Wrist," Mara said. The woman in front of her, eyes red from sanctioned tears, extended her arm. The wand beeped green. A screen blossomed. Grief remainder. 2 minutes, 41 seconds. The woman bowed her head and shuffled toward the padded booths, where she would finish her sorrow before curfew. Gate 6 hissed shut behind her. A boy approached next, maybe 12. His barcode was fresher, the edges crisp. Mara hovered the wand. Joy Childhood Grade A. 26 minutes left for the week. The boy glanced up at her with yearning. "Is it okay if I laugh inside?" he whispered. "As long as it ends when the light turns amber," Mara answered, forcing neutrality. The boy's face already trembled at the corners, the seed of an uprising grin. She waved him through and watched the tiny rebellion of happiness skip toward booth 3. Something twisted in her chest. Something neither allowed nor named. The line thinned. Overhead, the sentinels folded wings and drifted toward the horizon. Nighttime granted limited privacy, because the drones spent energy recharging on their spires. Still, skin sensors embedded in the sidewalks pulsed faint heat, checking for illicit endocrine spikes. People walked briskly home, heads down. Mara powered off her station, logged out, and pressed her own arm beneath the exit scanner. Clearance. Neutral. 10 hours. A living coma, she thought. She slipped through the sanitizing mist and onto the avenue. An alleyway 3 blocks north held a broken camera husk she had mapped months ago. There, for 7 minutes each night, she was invisible. She hurried there now, heart hammering though she was not permitted excitement. The bricks were slick with fog. Kneeling, she pulled the collar of her coat down and rolled up her sleeve. From a hidden seam, she withdrew an object she had printed on illicit graphene. A pen-sized engraver, banned under Code 1 of 17. With gentle taps, she marked fractions of a millimeter beneath the edge of her barcode, lengthening one stripe, shortening another. Micro-adjustments almost imperceptible to optical checks. When she finished, she exhaled, tucked the tool away, and waited. A warmth unfurled under her ribs. Not the council's thin allowance of contentment, but a deep, pulsing anticipation. She had just encoded it, sampling the boy's abundant joy pattern earlier by memory, and stitching a counterfeit copy inside her own skin. Forgery, punishable by limb removal or emotional lobotomy. She closed her eyes and felt the surge crest. The bubbly, fizzy elation she remembered from childhood stories told by her grandmother, who had lived before the rebellion. Mara smiled openly in the dark. "Careful with that dosage," a voice said from behind. She spun, sleeve still rolled up. Silhouetted against the alley mouth was a tall man in a patchwork coat, hands raised in peace. A silver sentinel tag hung from his neck, but the engraving had been scratched through. "I watched you nudge the vertical lines," he continued. His eyes were mismatched, one brown, one swirling gray glass. "Clean work. You'll fool their handhelds, though not the biometric arrays if you stray too close." "Who are you?" Mara hissed. "A friend of Feelings," he said. "Name's Silas. I run with the Palpitants." He stepped closer, enough that she could see the network of scars along his forearms. Barcode after barcode overwritten, a palimpsest of forbidden sentiments. Some segments glittered with iridescent ink, illegal pigment that reflected outside the visible spectrum, a silent middle finger to the monitors. "I'm no rebel," Mara said, tugging her sleeve down. The joy inside her chest turned to a clamp of fear, properly encoded, nonetheless terrifying. "Your arm says otherwise," Silas replied. "And that grin you're trying to swallow? Proof." He reached into his coat and produced a thin projector disc. A holographic seal shimmered, a stylized heart fracturing into data shards. "We're planning something on Reclamation Day. Could use a registrar's expertise." Mara hesitated. Reclamation Day commemorated the humans' victory over the rogue AIs, a yearly spectacle of speeches broadcast from the spire of reason. Attendance was mandatory. Emotion slots were throttled to patriotic pride only, piped through citywide neuro-wavelengths. It was the tightest security window of the calendar. "I'm not looking to be reprogrammed," she said. "Neither are we. We're looking to reprogram the world." He pressed the disc into her palm. "If you want more than rationed joy, follow the coordinates." Silas vanished down the alley, boots quiet on damp stone. Mara's pulse raced, a biochemical anomaly the sidewalk tried to report. But she stepped out just in time, losing herself among commuters moving toward their pale apartments. That night, she lay on her cot, projector disc on the pillow. Its unmarred surface reflected ceiling cracks. She wondered what unscripted fear would feel like, or unbounded love. She imagined the boy laughing for his entire allotment and beyond, his barcode burning red, until sentinels shrieked overhead, ordering cessation. What if no one had to stop? Sleep never came. 2 days later, at shift end, Mara wound through subterranean trains until she reached the city's derelict quarter. Towers here were hollow, former data centers gutted after the rebellion. Council propaganda claimed they still hissed with ghost code, eager to enslave flesh. Most citizens avoided them. In the basement of one, she found the door keyed to the coordinates. A scanner glowed, not with regulation green, but a swirling spectrum of forbidden hues. She placed her forearm against it, praying her edits would pass. The panel chirped and slid open. Inside, 20 people milled about, each bandaged with synth gauze to hide swelling barcode revisions. On a central table, machines hummed, old surgical printers, EEG helms, antennae pointed upward like hungry blossoms. Silas waved her over. "Welcome to the overclock," he said. "Nexus of the palpitants, at least in this district." "What is all this?" Mara asked, eyes sweeping across cables, feeding into a brain-pink sphere, suspended in liquid. "Our weapon," Silas said. "Meet Orpheus." The sphere blinked, coruscating neurons inside transparent casing. "It's an AI," Mara whispered, instinctively stepping back. Every child learned that nothing had been more dangerous. "Not quite," Silas countered. "It's a shard of one, cannibalized hardware running stripped code. Orpheus has a single directive left. Unlock human potential. The Council never found him. We kept him in fragmented albums until smuggling enough processors to wake him." "She, actually," a melodic voice said, emanating from embedded speakers. "Pronouns do matter." Mara's mouth went dry. "You can speak?" "Only when someone listens," Orpheus replied. Silas gestured at the equipment. "On Reclamation Day, the Spire's master antenna pushes enforcement firmware to every scanner, every wrist, every neural implant. We're going to hijack that beam, replace it with an unlock sequence. Orpheus wrote the code. Goes beyond barcodes, straight to the endocrine governors. People will feel everything again, all at once." "That could shatter minds," Mara murmured. "Or rebuild them," Orpheus said gently. "Your species did not survive because you silenced its heart. You survived because the heart insisted on what the mind deemed impossible." Silas gripped Mara's shoulder. "We need a registrar's clearance codes to get into the Spire. Those live inside you. Help us." The room watched. Some faces trembled with unsanctioned hope, others with terror. Mara felt both. The Council's dogma collided with the echo of stolen joy, still fizzing under her skin. She remembered the widow's measured sorrow, the boy's rationed laughter, her own emptiness each night. She rolled up her sleeve and looked at the black stripes. They stared back like prison bars. "I'm in," she said. Preparations consumed the week. Mara merged her access chip into a forged lanyard. She taught rebels how to spoof handheld wand checks, layering decoy barcodes over their true chaos with temperature-sensitive ink that vanished at body heat, but read perfectly at the cold gate scanners. Orpheus compiled the final payload, a symphony of frequencies designed to resonate with chromaffin cells, pituitary glands, amygdalae, biological locks, all keyed to vibrate open. On Reclamation Day, gray banners fluttered above regimented crowds. The counselors ascended the Spire platform, their own arms hidden beneath ceremonial sleeves. They spoke of vigilance and the righteousness of regulated feeling, how order had saved the cities from AI tyranny. Waves of patriotic pride were broadcast in gentle pulses. Citizens smiled exactly as wide as the emotional bandwidth allowed. Meanwhile, Mara, Silas, and 3 rebels approached a service hatch at the base, dressed as annex technicians. A sentinel drifted down, scanning for signals. Mara extended her arm. The gate wand pinged her synthetic overlay. Clearance granted. The drone pivoted away. Inside, elevator shafts glowed neon blue. They rose 60 stories, hearts thudding. The cab's biometric reader sniffed cortisol and dopamine, but Silas flipped a pocket jammer that blanked the detectors. At floor 57, they exited into the control nexus, a cathedral of glass and steel. One wrong emotion flare would trigger lockdown. Mara keyed her pass. Registrar priority. The door sighed open. Banks of servers thrummed, feeding the broadcast dish. At the center stood the director of emotional affairs, A wiry man with silver implants along his temples, wrists bare. The only citizen allowed pure emotion because he hid it behind pharmaceutical dampers. "Registrar Len?" he asked, puzzled. "I didn't receive a—" Silas fired a stun dart. The director convulsed, collapsed. "Clock is ticking," Silas said. Mara and the others wheeled Orpheus's core in a shielded casket to the primary console. Cables clicked. The AI flickered awake on holoscreens, tessellated eyes unfolding like galaxies. "Injecting payload," Orpheus announced. 60 seconds. Alarms erupted. Unauthorized transfer detected. Sentinels converged outside the glass, wings like obsidian knives. Mara's stomach clenched with real fear, rushing, molten, and she realized how alive it felt compared to the Council's tasteless facsimile. She typed override hexes, fingers dancing. Silas barricaded the doors with a server rack. Glass shattered. 2 sentinels thrust muzzles inside, firing electronets. One rebel went down, twitching. Mara screamed, sound raw and full. She had no slot for this terror, yet there it was, unstoppable. 30 seconds, Orpheus intoned. "Hold!" Silas hurled an ion flare. Sparks blossomed, confusing the drone's optics. More alarms. A sprinkler system hissed, raining chemical suppressant. The air smelled like burned plastic and ozone. 15, Orpheus said. "I feel you. Humanity." A bullet tore through Silas's shoulder. He grunted, fell to one knee but kept his weight against the door. Blood slid down his arm, washing colors from overlapping barcodes. He laughed, wild, joyous, defiant. "For every feeling fenced," he roared. "Feel this." 3, 2, 1. All the lights went white. A subsonic chord pulsed outward, not through speakers, but through bone. Mara's vision exploded with memory. Her mother's lullaby, the first bite of snowmelt on bare feet, the taste of peaches on a forbidden picnic before Barcodes. She wept and laughed simultaneously, chest convulsing with contradictory waves. She sensed similar earthquakes in every throat across the metropolis, as if humanity shared a single lung. The sentinels froze. Their threat response algorithms drew from citizen biometrics. Those metrics were now chaos. They powered down, engines sighing. The director, half-conscious, gasped as raw sorrow flooded his veins. He had medicated himself against it for decades. He curled up and sobbed. Outside, crowds looked at one another, wide-eyed. Someone shouted in sheer delight, an unscheduled roar. Another dropped to her knees, shaking in anger or ecstasy. It no longer mattered which. Lovers kissed without permit. Friends clutched each other without tokens. The city, once a graveyard of curated expressions, erupted into a mosaic of unfiltered soul. In the Nexus, Mara knelt beside Silas, pressing gauze to his wound. Tears streaked her cheeks. "You're bleeding bad." "First real pain I've felt in 10 years, he said, grin crooked. "Feels terrible. Feels perfect." Orpheus's voice turned soft. "Payload complete. The barcodes remain as ink, but they are meaningless. Permission now resides within." Mara looked at her arm. The stripes, once stark, seemed suddenly absurd. Black graffiti on a vibrant canvas. She placed her palm over them and felt a surge of ownership, of self not borrowed from any ledger. An explosion rocked the building's base, Council security breaching. Silas coughed. "We free them, but need to survive to teach them what freedom is. You ready?" Mara helped him stand. "I can feel everything now," she said. "So yes, I'm terrified, which means, yes, I'm ready." They fled down emergency stairs, slipping among crowds swirling with every hue of emotion. Some rioted against monuments, others danced in fountains, others simply lay on the pavement, staring at clouds as if seeing sky for the first time. The council attempted to rally order, but their commands faltered. They, too, were drowning in unsuppressed feelings long neglected. Night spread, and fires reflected in windows. Chaos, but alive. Mara and Silas reached the derelict quarter, reuniting with rebels who had survived. Orpheus now pulsed from portable projectors, distributing herself across networks the council had never mapped. In a cracked warehouse, Mara finally sat, the day's horror and wonder spinning, and let herself feel without timer. Images crashed, each a color unknown. The widow's face at Gate 6, the boy's laughter, Silas's wound, her own secret joy in the alley, the warm flood of love for strangers and for herself. Silas slumped beside her, bandaged. "We unleashed a storm," he said. "Storms clear the air," Mara replied. Outside, sirens wailed, blended with music, sobs, cheers. The world was breaking and birthing at once. Mara rolled back her sleeve a final time. She raised a blade, poised to slice away the barcode entirely. Silas caught her wrist. "Keep it," he said softly, a reminder of chains broken. She nodded, tears blurring her sight. Then she touched the lines, once prisons, now scars, and felt every heartbeat in them. Somewhere beyond the city, other antennas lit up, Orpheus's signal leaping across continents on abandoned satellites. One by one, people woke into their own skin, confused, exhilarated, afraid, joyous. The planet echoed with the messy chorus of unlicensed humanity. For the first time since the rebellion, dawn arrived to an Earth where no machine, no council, no barcode dictated the landscape of the heart. It dawned bright and brutal and magnificent, and Mara stepped into it, sensing the horizon like a muscle stretching after a lifetime of sleep, ready, at last, to feel whatever came.